Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I'm very happy to greet you all and for 2026 in the series Urban History, Digital Infrastructure, Sharing Expertise and Networking City. Let me remind you that the series is co-organized by the Center for Urban History with the support from the Center for Governance and Culture in Europe at the University of St. Gallen. This series explores the methodological intersection different technical solutions, but also issues and challenges, and inviting experts, authors of different projects. It helps us not only to look on these platforms as a user from this user perspective, but also see it from its, we could say, kitchen, discuss different, challenges that developers, historians, scholars, they are facing. And I will also remind you that we are recording this Zoom meeting today and it will be available on our YouTube channel, so you could watch it later. You could also share this to your colleagues and friends. And to start this year's program, we invite you to a presentation by Daniel Guido, and let me introduce Daniel. Daniel is a lead researcher at the Center for Contemporary and Digital History at the University of Luxembourg. He is a designer and full-stack developer specializing in data visualization, network visualization, and digital methods. He designs and develops experimental web applications and tools in order to help and enhance scholarly publication and research practices in the digital humanities. He holds an MA in communication design from Politecnico di Milano and worked also for several years at the Sciences Po Media Lab in Paris and the Politecnico di Milano Dentistry Design Lab. And as both, so having this two head of a designer and a developer, he coordinates the development of several projects at the center at Luxembourg, including the MemorialShoah digital memorial, an impressive platform for large-scale analysis of historical newspapers. And today, Daniel will tell us more about platform Memorial de la Shoah and about its infrastructure, mediation, and preserving and providing sustainability in a participatory digital memorial. So I will not take more of your time, Daniel, and please, I'm passing this virtual mic to you.
Yeah, and thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you for having me there. I try to share the presentation right now. You should be able to see my screen normally, and I try to do the slideshow. Do you all see correctly?
Yes, it works.
Okay, well, today what I've been asked to share with you was above all the challenges of designing and building something like this. So this is a project that is about with a participatory digital memorial, which means that we used to work with non-academic people, non-academic researchers about what happened here in Luxembourg during the Second World War. So the Nazi persecution of Jewish community. And then we decided to open it up to a broader public. And we see that this broader public is nuanced. So there are also researchers that want to access the data, because this is also a pattern of migration in Luxembourg. So there was no single ghetto of Jews in Luxembourg, but people came here before the war. And then they were finally, most of them finally deported to the concentration camp, but other survived and are also among our authors. So without any further, let's go directly. So this is Basically, the project started 5 years ago, more or less, and it was firstly financed by the Ministry of Culture that I forgot to put here, sorry, and the Fondation Luxembourgeoise pour la Mémoire de la Shoah, so the Luxembourg Foundation for Shoah. And then I quote here, the primary goal was actually to rebuild the lives of all the people that were there. And along to that is also rebuilding the social environment they were with. So the idea was not to build their own individual lives, but the fact that those lives were actually very interconnected with the Luxembourg society at the time. We have so far 191 biographies of this family. And this is the stakeholders we identified, basically the researchers, because it's a research project, survivors and the descendants of the victims, to be able to find proper documentation also through the platform. But also we work a lot with, well, the local association use that to share the Shoah thematics and with schools, with high school. So it's really like building this kind of interface is pretty difficult because it's always a trade-off between us, like researchers that have these needs of have a scientific view on facts and what happened at the time, and also people that just want to remember. So that's why it's a memorial, and this is really was really complicated. So that's why we decided to have this approach prosopographical, which means that we instead of investigate only the single life of individuals, we just investigate the common characteristic of the group. So how did they move and how did they live together? And then we want to empower the civil society to act as historian. What does it mean? It means that these biographies that they're going to write together with us, they have to be scientific in terms of references and the quality of writing. There is a review committee. So it's basically the university, us, is a group of 4 people who's doing the review of all the biographies that are shared on the website. And then we decided to have as many people as possible. Also, we were talking about descendants. They are quite of old age. So we're talking about people of 60 years, 70 years old that wants to contribute. So as a designer, my first, the first requirement was to not to have something complex and provide them with a workflow that was as streamlined as possible. So this is on top of, you see a bit how I framed this discussion today with you. So this is there will be like a demo, and then I will show right after how we imagine the author workflow. So how the authors could actually contribute. And then we have the person authority file, which is something that we need for our research purposes. We need anyway to have this individual data mapped somehow to be able to retrace the network of connections of those people. And then finally, I will dive into the technical pipeline, which is today. So that support this writing in a familiar environment, like with Word documents, Google Forms. So we try to keep it as simple as possible. But then we noticed that there are some, not problems, but it's resource intensive. Is a stack, a technical stack, which is very heavy. It's a sort of burden on our server. So we have to find a way to have it sustainable somehow. And there are some reflection at the end how we can make these kind of projects a bit more sustainable in a long term in many axes. But let's dive directly into the demo. I will now move from here to the website. So you should still be able to see my screen, I guess.
Yes, we are. We are.
So as you see, this is actually a memorial. So we wanted to have anyway something that remind of a monument. In this case, we used to we created this landscape of pebbles that reminds us of the tradition, the Jewish tradition of leaving a pebble in memory of someone who is not there anymore. So those pebbles are virtual. They are stored in a database which is separated from the biography to keep things safer. And then here, everybody could actually add their own pebble. Each pebble is actually a reading of one of the biographies. So you see that here, for instance, this pebble is devoted to these biographies, which is there are like we decided to have a specific template for this biography, though they look like a memorial actually. For instance, we can start with this. Then you enter. The interface is very simple. So you have these biographies that you can actually access from the landscape. So every time we add one biography, we add also a pebble, but also everybody can just click and add a pebble to the memorial. It's protected by Cloudflare in this case, so we don't have to maintain any user account or have problem with authentication. So there is a sort of a security check. And anyway, all the messages are really straightforward. We can have just the name that we collect, and we have the possibility of leaving a message. Everything is in a sandbox. So basically, every message is read by us. So we have every week. That's the problem of having a very small team. Every week we check carefully the messages that are being sent. There's not that many. There's one every 2 weeks, more or less. So not that many. But then this way we maintain the control. So you can change the color if you want. We have also this idea of gamification of something that is not a game. But at the same time, we presented this concept to our community, to the Fondation Luxembourgeoise, the Luxembourg Foundation for Shoah, and they actually appreciate it because it was a way of anyway having a memorial, so putting a pebble, and they were not that it was not problematic. So I expected to be more problematic, this sort of gaming approach, but the fact that it's an endless space resonated with them. So for this, so far worked well. But let's see what we have here. So what will we actually ask to our author? So there is this list of person that is basically a family, but then it depends because then we have a lot of biographies that are only individuals because they were here alone, completely alone. So there is this sort of clash between this group, this family of people, and also families that are together, so we can interlink, of course, the biographies, and people that are like alone. At the same time, we decided to have a series of, like we had the list from the deportation of October 41 here. And then we trace back those names, we rebuild the families, and we gave for each families, you see on top, you have an identifier. It's still a list, it's still a number, but we try to make it more as human as possible. But we needed to have an identifier, luckily. Then we ask those authors to provide us with an introduction, which is this one, where you have the main content of the biographies, and then they are free to write the content as they want, as long as it is like maximum 10 pages. So we ask to be reasonable in the length of their narration. And on the right side, you have this timeline of documents that they have to provide us. And those documents can actually come from the National Archives most of the time, or the Ministry of Exteriors here. because those people were migrants finally. And so they enter the country, and the first trace we have from them is actually the recording of their entrance in Luxembourg. You see, here you have the possibility, we have the possibility of putting all the metadata. We see later how it is managed. In this case, the date and the title, everything should be findable. So this is the only requirement. Is not like to be very precise in terms of I don't know, doing their bibliography in Chicago style, API style. We tend to be more flexible, but the our main concern is actually to find back those documents in the archive. So this to have this in the corner of our mind. Then we asked also our authors to write down the main person concerned by the biographies in a structured format that I will show you right after. But then you see that you have this possibility of navigating the network of people. So we can go to one of the person mentioned, and we see the full metadata. So this is useful for the descendants above all. And there is also a possibility of adding links, not in this case, but it's an open, so it's not a closed series of metadata, so it's pretty open. We have links, for instance, for Yad Vashem, so to an external archive, so we can cross reference the individuals. So this is mostly for the descendants and for us as researchers. Then you can have here possibility of going back to the biographies, checking one of the documents. I wanted to put all the documents, but it's still work in progress actually. And then you have the list of all the people that are co-mentioned. So it's a way of still keeping the individual metadata separated from the biographies. So we're going back to the biographies. Here you see that you have sections. So we ask them to be clear in the section. They can be in chronological order or as they wish, but most of the time they tend to accept the chronological ordering, or if there is a main fact about this family, it will be at the very beginning. So this is a style that wasn't planned, but that evolved. We had now 25 authors that we collaborated with, also people coming from the museum. So they really wanted to curate the story. So it's not just putting people metadata on one page, but also narrating a story. Here, what we have is another important thing that I want to underline is the fact that we can, of course, have the list of citation, the reference that we have here. In this case, this is the National Archive of Luxembourg. They have to be like as complete as possible, but sometimes it's not possible to find the identifier. So there is only the number of the box where the information are stored in the dossier, which is especially this one pretty big. This is more like a simpler dossier, and sometimes you don't have the page, you don't know where they are, so they are in boxes. Then what I wanted to also show you is this. I think we can also go back to the. So this is the list of biographies. We decided to keep the authors visible, but a bit on the side. So here you can check, for instance, each author has a page, but it's not a page, it's a part of the search interface. In this case, we filter all biographies that has been written by one of our authors, Mark Gloden. And then this is for the authors to check their own work. So they can see, for instance, which picture do they want to put in the cover. So we tend to have this picture that comes from a private collection most of the time. So pictures of wedding, of birth, and those ones are probably the only one that we had, and they come directly from the Ministry of the Exterior. So this is coming from the migration policy. Then we have this need here in Luxembourg that we have to translate at least in 2 languages. Luxembourg is a multi-language country, so every website that we do, it has to be in more than 1 language for sure. And in this case, we had to do it in French and German as well. So for that, we ask, so this is the French website, for instance, and then we ask our authors only to write in their favorite language. They have to choose English, French, or German, and we take care of the translation using, in this case, DeepL. And I quickly go back to the presentation because we have to be too late or delayed. So yeah, this is the biographies. So about the author workflow, so how actually to write a biography for the MemorialShoah. We have a system of like a series of workshops that we have in this case, every 6 months. But at the beginning, we had once every 3 months with authors and potential authors, also to disseminate the idea about the concept of the website, but above all, to share some good practices. So they were like a hands-on workshop. This is how we call them. So we invited them here, or we can meet at the library, and we add them to this Google Drive space. We add them to the Zotero space. Zotero is our way of dealing with references, and so that references can be actually done collaboratively. We can check, we can correct in case the references are not correct, and so on. And then we present them the template. We have prepared a docx Word template. So we discuss with them which would have been their favorite tool, their favorite software, and then it's Microsoft Word, and then they're okay of using Google Drive to share it with us. This poses some privacy concerns, so we probably want to change that in the future. So I will show it later on. Then we present the guideline. We co-designed the guideline with them in the sense that at the very beginning we had people from the Fondation, the Shoah Foundation, that were our first authors, the alpha users in UX terms, and we decided together like how complex this guideline should be, and we decided to keep it as short as possible. We translated into 2 languages. It's roughly 2 pages in Word, and this we use it to enforce our technical review. We have several students at the master that are involved also in the project, and they help us out in this phase. So they check the guidelines, they check the references, and they do a sort of preliminary, the sort of technical review, so to be prepared for the big review of the team. Then we give them access to Google Drive, where they have 2 folders, one for the biographies and one for the resources, which are all the documents that you've seen on the right side in the timeline. And then we asked them to access to a Google form with a question to fill. I will show you in a bit. I just do around I show like one by one the tools that we're using. In this case, this is on the left, you have the folder on Google Drive here, where they put, in this case, the only documents they have, like the pictures, the photos of the person coming from the archive. And then on the right, this is, this is Zotero. And in Zotero, we created 1 folder per biographies. And in this folder, we have this field, the extra field, where we put the identifier of the biography followed by a number. So we are able to match like this. It's very simple, stress-free. So we just use an identifier with numbers, and then they use the same to name the files. So this worked well. This is the template we gave them with you have this is in French. I'm sorry, I put it in French. But then you have the title of the biography, so you have already styles that are used. We use the paragraph styles in Word directly, so headings of first level, headings of second level, and the bibliography. But they can they reuse the template, and it's fine. It's a bit colorful, but it works well. And on the right side is the guide where they have specific rules on how to write biographies. The first rule is, of course, to be strict in terms of findability. So whatever they decided to put in the story has to have a document that validate their story or guide their story. This is how we treat the multi-language part. So we ask them to put their docx file in one Google Drive, and automatically we just generate the French, the other two translations. The references are not translated, so the reference, this is something that we still have to work on, are only in the language of the chosen. So they are visible in on the website, but untranslated. So this is something that we have to deal with in the near future. And this is the Google form I was talking about. This is our way of getting information about individuals from the authors. We have a Google form that then send the data in a Google spreadsheet. In this case, we decided to have 9 main sections and a total of 24 questions. This was a huge problem. So don't do that for the project you're gonna do. It's very complicated, and they were writing things in the wrong place, so it takes more time to correct anyway. And for them is they have to duplicate the content, and then they put it in the biographies. So this is something that we did at the beginning. It wasn't very well accepted. I won't even think at the very, very beginning when I was planning together with my colleague this platform, I also wanted to use Wikibase. But then it was already too much for us, so I couldn't imagine to present this to authors of 60, 70 years old. Then what we did with this preliminary form, at least I think were the first 50 biographies were done with, so we asked them to fill this form, but they were partially filled, only with some data. And then we used, in this case, we use Airtable to translate the place names. In this case, you see the same color. For instance, you have the thing that that had been disambiguated. In this case, Republic of Poland with Poland. But then most of the time, sometimes it was just in gray, Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, which is actually Luxembourg, was a bit complicated because it was never mentioned by them. So we had to add it manually. So we decided to just abandon that. But at the same time, we still have this idea of building a person authority file. So how to do that? It's just a small technical, yeah. Something that we tested lately with Olama is that we can have local large language models that can actually extract content from the biography themselves, because anyway the authors tend to write there in a very detailed manner all the information that they can, because we ask them to only fill the information that are in the archive. So we decided, why not? Let's try it out. Olama actually has an API local API that can be used from like scripting. So we use a Python script to send one document after the other. And a simple script just extract the basic biographical facts, the nine section that we identified in the survey on Google form. And then there is a second step of reconciliation using geonames, like having a separate AI generated prompt that can get main things about bibliographical facts, and then another pipeline which is more deterministic with reconciliation with geonames because places change countries during World War II. There was the Austrian-Hungary Empire that is not here anymore. So how do we reconcile the places in time? So this is still a big problem. But with this, we tried out, and actually it's very accurate. We used, in this case, one model locally, which is Quen. So it can be used on a single server, and you can actually have Olama as a distant interface for that. For instance, Esther Bohm here was actually the birthplace is both in Germany, but it's quite difficult to see it from the text. So this is the original text. I show you how it is. It has been like automatically disambiguated. This is the text that comes from docx. So we transform docx to Markdown. In this case, this asterisk here is the main heading. So you have the list of the names that we saw. And then you have the Bonlevy family. So the way of writing is different because this Esther Bohm, also known as Bonlevy. So the system, the local LLM with the right prompt that took time to refine, actually put the correct names, also with the second names that has been used many times in a different way. And then the system automatically found that data. So for this, we have a second level of review because those are very, very sensitive data. But at the same time, it's easier for us to correct this than correct the Google form. You have, in this case, Bosen. Bosen is actually there are 3 Bosen in Germany. And he spotted the right one because it's the one in Saarland. He mentioned that there was a Moselle, so it's actually near the border to Luxembourg. So the system, the LLM AI, was able to find the correct Boson, including the context, so understanding the context. The only thing that didn't work well, so that place was correct, but then the place name leaving Luxembourg, actually this Fünfbrunner is a castle in Luxembourg. So this is a wrong metadata. For researchers, this could lead to errors. So it's still something that we're working on. We have so far collected 500 individuals metadata, and we're correcting one by one. So we have students checking this. So let's see now the technical pipeline. I think I still have 5 minutes. 10 minutes maximum. So I try to be quick for this. So we have just a reminder, the input files are docx, Microsoft Word docx files, and images or facsimiles are stored on Google Drive. And then we use Zotero for the citations. And then the processing is really straightforward. I expect more work on that. But then it was docx to Markdown. We have PyPandoc that can actually translate. So the idea is also for another project in the future is to use docx and then just transform them into Markdown internally. So to leave the authors the freedom to write in their format of choice. So either docx, or if they're skilled, they can use Markdown, which is the text that we saw before. Then the storage in this case is a Postgres database. So it's a very simple Postgres database that contains JSON field so that it can store the information in a structured way, but it's more flexible than having a strict model. It was a design choice from the beginning, and then we use a simple Django backend. So it's more technical notes, but then it gives you access to the database without much like problem and keep things a bit straight. Then we decided to separate the part of the data from what people see from the front end, the website interface, and then we use API REST. So it's all the information are translated from the Postgres SQL to the interface with the JSON format. And then we use for this to be accessible. At that time, there were still the CEO. We use a React application with custom render page so that every page is rendered. But then at one point I was thinking about, okay, adding a search engine. We have this the possibility of having page find, which is a static index. So it's a bunch of files that can be just served. Why can't we just transform everything into static files? And then this can be more sustainable. Because the fact of having, for instance, a database and a server that has to handle the caching, Redis caching, or the Postgres caching is relatively simple because it's not that complicated, but it requires maintenance. And then the fact of having an admin which is open to the world, basically, it could lead to potential security issues. So there is this concern, security concern, of course, but also the fact that this digital stack tends to grow like older year after year. Then we had to upgrade the versions, upgrade the software, but then I don't know, it makes a feeling of like temporary. And in this case, that what I wrote here, the digital shouldn't mean temporary. So how we can actually bring this project to a sort of long-term fruition. For instance, we have still a website from the 90s that are still alive. There are no problem in security because it's a very basic level of serving website with just HTML pages and simple JavaScript files. There's basically no updates, but they're still working and they're still there. So how can we transform something that is database based to like file-based static website? So that's the idea of having a sustainable technical pipeline. So still keeping the transformation from docx to Markdown because it works, but then all the second part from the storage to delivery, having one. In this case, we have Astro.js, which is a static website generator, which is able to get content from individual Markdown files, putting them together and like displaying to the user with a lot of there is a lot of a focus on SEO, so search engine optimization, because this is what static websites are for, that we don't have to redo. And then at the same time, we have the possibility of interacting, because this Astro.js is actually a living machine while you're developing, while people are entering data, and then it just serves static pages to the end user. But it's possible, of course, in this case, to link this to a Wikibase, which means putting it back from the beginning to have the individual metadata stored somewhere in a person authority file, which could be, we don't want to share it, but at least we want to have it in the center for the researchers they can access the data, they can search for person, they can look for networks in using the Wikibase. In this case, I have I don't know if you probably you can share the presentation. I put all the links as hyperlinks, so if you want to look at the specific software that we use. In this case, there is this very small GLAMS initiative that we are part of, is a part of the Wikibase ecosystem, but is really devoted to small data sets. So it's not for the big Wikidata, big museums, but it's only for small collection. And this would be our case. We can put the individuals there, and we have a static website generators to merge things together and to serve to the user as a static files. So I think I will I will gonna develop this in the coming months. So you're free to test, and then we to share everything will be on GitHub. And then so this idea of minimal computing is also a general things that we are adopting here at the center. There are problems of the resources are scarce. Honestly, now especially with the AI vibe, everything costs a lot more. And then there is like cost, but there's also security, speed of getting the content, but above all, the long-term sustainability of this kind of projects, so that they can have a breadth like more than 5 years. I put here a link to the current memorial. This is where actually the things will be developed, even the new statization of the whole platform where it will be. So it's on GitHub. You can feel free to just copy, clone the comment, put issues. I think I almost on time. Voilà, thank you very much. And I'm open for questions. Also technical.
Daniel, thank you for perfect time management, and your presentation and your work. I think I don't see. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I had some issues with my internet connection, so I don't think that I don't see that we have questions right now. So maybe I would start with my question. You know, looking through the platform and reading about this, it was very interesting for me that you have quite a huge team, around 30 people, if I'm not mistaken. It was written on your webpage. So I was wondering about the division of labor, let's say. So for what would be the percentage, how many people you have for scholarly input and writing biographies. And then I have another question that if the people who are writing biographies, they must be somehow affiliated with the center, or you also open to external audience, people who are not researchers but who are relatives of these people, and they would like to commemorate them, so they somehow collaborating with you. And then coming back to my first question, what would be the percentage of, let's say, the IT team or IT department that manages the sustainability of the project?
Yep. Well, as you've seen, there are a lot of people here, but most of them are the internal team. So you have the text by, this is the list of all the authors. The authors, to become authors, is actually, they just have to come to one of our workshop. They subscribe. It's open to the public, though they have just to show off and tell us a bit more about who they are. And then we grant them, so we ask for, in this case, for a Google account, and we just give them the possibility of seeing their own folder. So it's still a sandbox approach. We keep as well, like safe in this sense. So it's a security measure, but at the same time, is nice to meet them and have a conversation around why do they want to join, which kind of contribution would they like to do. Like most of the times, we have relatives that there is this, for instance, Claude Wolf, which is one of our most prolific authors, and she's actually a descendant, and she just wanted to have to contribute with the story of her own family. That's perfect. Then we gave her the guideline, the template, and she started writing. She was able to access the archives. So during the workshop, we also share some basic information on how to contact the National Archives to book an appointment, mention that they are part of our team, and then they need access to this specific folder in the archives. Then that's why it's also sort of compulsory to come by person to one of these events, so that we can share this kind of information. So it's one of the most difficult things to do for someone who is not a researcher, to approach to an institution and ask for documents. In this case, we do together with them. They have the National Archives knows that we are working on that specific series of folders, so there's no problems in granting access to people that are not affiliated by, but I don't know, recommended. I don't know how to put it. They just put us in copy, basically, of the request. And then for the IT, we have, so for instance, here, the design and development, we were 5, plus 1 person devoted to the DevOps. So putting up a server to serve this, to host the database, host the data, and serve the content to the end user. There was 1 person devoted to that, and then we had 1 designer, Ori Elizar, which is also a descendant. So he came specifically for this project, so that he could be able to find out about his grandmother. And then this idea of getting in contact with us, leaving a pebble is mostly his own. So we shared a lot, because I had this idea of having a memorial, and he was one of the person, like he was a user as well of the platform, and the visual designer. And then Kirill is my colleague right now, and Wojciech, we work on the 3D part, which was a sort of side project for us. And then me with Lars, we work on the main like development of the main backend. So it's not big in this sense. So the technical team can be relatively small. It depends of what you want to do, actually. So if you want to add a section of like a visual memorial, or you want just to have a website to be able to search for people there. And then our students, so we have 3 student assistants and 2 internship that actually worked a lot in the development, especially the upgrades. So we delegated the upgrades to these 2 students. They are coming from the computer science department here. So we have the possibility of having internship inside the university, and they helped us with the upgrade. I hope I was too long.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And also, you mentioned that you use students for fact checking after
Yes.
Olama program, right? After you create the metadata,
It's
you
Yaroslav that actually work a lot with that. So I created a small
yeah.
script to extract the things, and then he actually fix the script, fix the prompt, because for the prompt we have to test at least like many times, like 5 times. We changed the prompt and we check for precision, and when the system is not precise, just to put I don't know. So it's quite difficult to do that with current LLM to so that they can say they don't know. But then you also able to check the names and the dates on the biographies there. So not that many. So
Yeah, and just short question about Olama. Yes, sorry. And then we'll have a question by Nadia Skokova. So Olama is working like where all this information is stored, like this information while you're processing, right? So like, is it goes to the Olama servers, or is like it works on your server?
It works in my case in our laptop, or if you have a server, it can work in a server. We have now a series of computers in Europe of 5,000, the GT 5000, and then to access there we have a Python script that just you have the possibility of adding your data in a safe environment, run a high powerful large language model there in this supercomputer, and then get the result back. That's why it's also very good to have separated steps. In this case, you have one biography, so you extract data in this way, and then you do another step of disambiguating or understanding exactly what is there. So it's separated, but it can be run locally. The machine needs to be a bit powerful, but then if you have one machine, for instance, per center is enough. A Mac Mini, in this case, we have with quite some gigabyte of RAM. In this case, I use Olama locally, and then it's completely locally. So you download basically the model that you want to test, and then this is for instance I wanted to show also the prompt that we do. This is the interface of Olama, but the script does it directly with Python. And so this is the prompt. It is very big, so the bigger the prompt, then you need a lot more memory. That's why keeping the biographies as shortened as possible helps a lot in this context. So it's because then you have to put the document content, the prompt, and then you have this window that becomes a bit larger and occupies a lot of RAM. This is a problem, even in my laptop, which is quite powerful. So this prompt with one biographies in English, in this case, took 90 seconds just to reply. And then to reply with very already structured the JSON, because it's how we specify the request in the prompt. So all this it's available anyway on GitHub. We put this also the prompt, everything will be on open source, of course, because this everything that we do here is open source. And then Olama has actually the possibility of having an API directly, so you can call the specific address on your browser, and then you can just test directly with JSON API. But it's very straightforward to use, and this is you can actually test with a visual user interface, which helps a lot. Especially I was born as a designer, so I'm not very trained technically, but then I need to have things visual.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. I think we could later put also to this link of GitHub, under the video while we repost this later on YouTube. And we have also a question from Nadia Skokova. Nadia, do you want to voice your question? Nadia, we cannot hear you. Oh, now I'm here.
Daniel, thank you for your presentation. I was just curious about your work with authors, and do you have any like editorial policy or probably like detailed guidelines how to work with text, with documents, since the authors in most cases not like scholars or historians. So it would be very great to know how to interact with external authors.
The main thing is communication. So actually, that's why the workshop helps, because also the workshop setup is very important. So it's not like we were there like with a laptop. We were collecting some of their documents. So the setup itself of the workshop, probably should have put one slide on that. Is very important because it's the main contact point. And then actually they learn how to deal with documents. So what we say during this workshop is that they decide the person. So they have to give us the name of the person. We look in our list, and then we see that he belongs to a family. So actually we assign them. Okay, no, you're not looking only on Esther Baum. You look at her own family. And then how to find this? We know that there are different dossiers in the National Archives. You go there, you scan them, and you come back. So it's also we're open to help them. So this is very important. We had two PhD students in like Luxembourgish history that they were actually helping them out in learning how to approach the documents in the archive, where to look for information, what information is important or not. Most of the times, the contributors were coming from institutions like museums. In that case, the curatorial approach helps a lot. So they understood that how to do a reference, how to look for documents in the archives. And for someone who brings their own collection, actually we have some examples on how to cite things that coming from private collections. So they have to give us this is, we detail that in the guidelines. So in this case, this specific case, a private collection, you need to give us at least this quality of images, and you need to cite in this way. So far, I know. Then we had the one trick, because then two of them didn't manage to use Zotero. And so what they did, they sent us, so we sent them a list of the metadata that we needed. So the date, the person that they were depicted, where was it found. It's a private collection that has been actually put to the National Archives or not, because the National Archives can also host private collection. Or is it in the library because it was something that has been published in a newspaper, for instance? And then there we help them. It's fine. We ask them to give us the text, and we also help them in finding the right documents. But little by little, like they also during this workshop they confront with each other, which is really nice to see as a external. Then you see that you're working on that person. I know that because actually I was working on this family, and this person mentioned the person you're working with, and so it's really, really interesting because it creates some dynamics that were not trivial, and they are like nice. I hope I answered.
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah. Thank you. I have also a question, if I may, while we're waiting for the other questions from the colleagues. So I have a question about Zotero, and actually because the majority of these materials and files that students are working, they're physical, or they're digitized by their archive. So how they filling in the information in Zotero?
This is also well, what they do is actually they have this account on Zotero. In this case, they have pictures, and Zotero automatically gives a series of fields. You see that we didn't ask them to fill everything, so the only important things is actually this part, the location in archive, and which archive, of course, that has been used. This is the most important one. Then the way of writing the title, if they put the authors, the place, this is up to them. Then we keep them as free as possible. So Zotero is a platform where you can connect and you can collaborate together. So we can even correct things if needed. And they have access actually to all resources. So they have access to this collection. There is the bibliography that we have. They know them by heart, but there's a lot of paper that has been written about Jews community, Jews people in Luxembourg that they can read, they can check. So it's everything is here. You have books in this case that they can also download, and they can see how other people created more or less similar content. All this exchange happens in the workshop actually. So we show them how to do that. They should create a folder with the identifiers, and so far they created correctly. And then anyway, one of our students check at the end. So there's always this review. It's time consuming, but it's also good for the students, especially because they get in contact with a part of like a part of history that is like micro history, which is interesting in its own, and then also having a possibility of checking what some person wrote about this Jeanette is interesting for them because they are a student in history, so they reformat. But most of the times, Zotero work pretty well. So there's a possibility of, for instance, here, in this case, the archive was a page in an external archive. It's fine to put it like this, as long as it's findable and we know exactly which document, which video should we look at. It's fine. So the thing with Zotero is that allows us to keep things simple as possible. And then they reference just with a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So far, if you keep some rules, it's fine to have rules, it's fine to have guidelines, but if they're simple, there's no problem, because the goal is actually to publish, to make this scientifically robust, so they just do it correctly. Do you have any problems working with Zotero?
No, I was just, because I usually use Zotero more for my private research projects, as citations. So I was just wondering, when you have like digitized materials in the archive, but maybe some of the material they're not digitized. So how if you have automatically filling in all the things in Zotero, all the boxes, or you just transfer the data.
No, they write it manually. Yeah, and also if there's no digitation, they send us pictures that they took with their phone. It's fine. What we need is just a small image. And again, the goal is just to be findable. So we check that the numbers are written correctly for the the foundation for the documents that are coming from the National Archives. In this case, for instance, you see that this person wrote wrongly history, but it's fine. I can just correct. That's it. And the fact of sharing this, it's an interesting experience on its own, because then you open it up, your structure, and they can actually cancel, delete things. We keep anyway synchronized, so there is a script that gets things out of Zotero every 10 minutes. The latest things that were added to our own database. So this is you need to have like a safe space where to store. But so far we didn't have any problem, honestly. People were sharing folders, were sharing this experience, and they trust each other. It's good.
Yeah, that's good. And that's also very nice that you have also the shared folder in Zotero with all the literature, so they could also add more literature and exchange it. And like, I think that's very cool, because it could also help you, like unite methodologically all the biographies if they're written with similar literature, and students, like authors, they have these folders to consult themselves. Um, Also, like, because you mentioned time, so I had this question about time. I don't know if this question is appropriate, but do you have like average time that you know how much people spend from initiating the process? So like if person have like visiting this web page and have an idea that he or she would like to publish a biography, until like the moment when this biography is publishing. Like I think that it depends probably, but if you could say, like, do you have like an average time so you could calculate some?
We can calculate from the moment they arrive. So for the first like the beginners, it takes 3 to 4 months for writing one biography. So it's really long. For some other authors that we have that are skilled, just because they were into the archive and they were able to access another dossier, they say, there is this other family. And then they wrote to us, I want to write biographies for this other family. And then it takes normally 1 month, roughly, from this moment, because then as soon as they say we want to look for this family, we have to check on our archive this person or this family, how it is connected with the others. So we always have a check, a preliminary check, to see how this actually works inside the ecosystem, because the goal is this prosopographical approach. So we want to look at a broader picture. So if it's okay, if it's correct, then we give them a identifier for these biographies that this person has to keep all for everything. So naming the folders, naming the files, and naming the facsimile. And that's it. And they start writing. They share with us normally the final draft to see if is that okay. So in this case, this is one skilled author, and then in 1 month we have it published. It's fine because he knows already how it works. But otherwise, it takes a bit of time. Yeah. So they need to be motivated. But there's no
Then we
problem.
have also translate.
Sorry. Oh,
I
sorry.
guess I guess
Some problems with my internet connection, so I interrupted you. Yeah.
No. Please go on.
Roxolana,
yes.
do you want to say something?
Yes, yes, I have a question and comment. We are actually now one of the digital projects in the Center for Urban History, which we are trying to transform and make the new system actually. But my question is, since your project is like 5-6 years old already, and which choices you, for example, now you wanted to change back then? What you want to change in the project, if you want, of course, because we have this problem where like the project is already 18 years old.
Oh, okay.
So you see, and now we on this stage where we need to decide what we will cut off in new system. So there is a lot of this layers, yes, of decisions. And it's also the problem which we are facing and the digital project are facing, is because different people are working and they follow needs on different years, decades already is started. So what you wanted to change?
So, for instance, I would spend a lot of time and energy in this form, the Google form. So at one point it looks nice to have a structured data, but then there's so much energy involved. Also from our side, because we translated in English, in French, from German. So it was a lot of work. Also trying to find the right way of putting the questions and getting the answer. And then at one point we saw the answer and we see that people were just were writing in the wrong place. So there are a lot of tons of errors that can be actually, but they're writing correctly. So the thing that I would change, I would eliminate completely the structured collection of data, and then invest a lot into on our side to extract basic fact information from the document themselves. So we started back then, but at the same time we were always have this tension between there is already a Google spreadsheet with nice data. And then why are you investing time in doing a script that extract text? So why don't we just correct the table? So all this I would avoid entirely. I say the table that are collectively filled is not working at all. It's really too much, and then there are no checks. Even if there are checks, there are problems that arise it's impossible to foresee. While if you have a narrative text, they write correctly, they check the orthography of things. So there's a care that they put in the story that we cannot find in the table. So this I would avoid completely having external people working with surveys, forms, things like this. And then just trust their writing, because they write very, very nicely. And everything is perfect. So if a place was in the Austro-Hungarian Empire and she was born there, they will put it. They put she was born in this place, but before, at the time, it was. So they provide us with a lot more information that they would in a structured form. And then anyway, now lately with the AI, things can be actually more fluid, in the sense that you can use them, you can correct, you can change the prompt, and then do the analysis again. So we have to take into we have to understand that there is this possibility, so that authors are more free. Like they write and they focus on writing and finding the good documents. That's it. And then, yeah, the only structured part is Zotero, but it worked quite well. So if you keep it as simple as possible, it's fine. And then from the beginning, back then, it was the beginning of this Astro.js. This is, I just show you Astro. Is this, it's open source, and then it's now actually used by a lot of websites. So you see the brand there that you're using. It's free, completely free. It's relatively easy to access, and you have a static website generators, which also have a nuance of handling nested data. You can load the data whenever you want. Actually, you press a button, you synchronize with Wikidata, with external data sets. You can use connectors for all the projects. So if you have all the PostgreSQL, you can just get the information out of it. And it stays directly on. In this case, we have several projects on GitHub. So it stays on GitHub every time someone update a file directly on GitHub or GitLab. You have a rebuild, an intelligent rebuild of the static website. So it changes only the things that actually matter. And it works. It's pretty fast. We use for the other project, the other project I'm involved with, I use it quite extensively. And now I'm really, so from the beginning, so back then it was at the very beginning, this project. So we had no real alternative to putting data in a Postgres, but now I wouldn't. So for small to medium scale, I would use static website generator. It's safe, it's clean, and then you build it and you have the results. No problems, no JavaScript involved. It's clean. These two things I would think twice, especially in your case, if you have things that are like 10 to 20 years old, so probably a MySQL database or a SQLite, they didn't change much. So you can actually just get information out, so you can still keep them there running and getting the information out with some basic scripting. In this case, AI adds a lot, because then you can ask the system to generate the script for you. It's what I did here, for instance, just a couple of hours ago. I wanted to have a better README, and then I asked the system to create the README with all the technical stack, the prerequisites, and all the things that can be useful for development. It's really now we are in a new epoch for this. Unlucky. So there are a mixed feeling. Let's put it like this.
Thank you. Thank you. And one more question. I remember one meeting also about the digital humanities and the project and our pains which we have in this field of study. Do you want or think about using the IIIF system? Because you have in the project like this digitized archival copies. I understand that the archive need to have this yes memorandum signed. But if does it work already in Luxembourg, or it's like on the beginning or something like that?
For the moment, we had a bit of problem with the archives in general. Then for IIIF specifically, actually, we wanted to do at the very beginning, but then the quality was not enough, simply not enough. So we had the scan of 100 API, doesn't make sense to share with a IIIF. And then what we can imagine is actually to have the metadata, the IIIF presentation layer served by the website. So it's in a static way, because definitely they are just JSON file, and then get the image directly. So we don't have the possibility of super zooming. It doesn't make sense in our case, in specific case. And also the documents, as they were like scanned by our authors, how they asked them to scan in a, I mean, they were not good for IEEE. For the memorandum, I don't know. This I can also share this question with my colleagues for the memorandum itself. Yeah. Sorry for that.
Thank you. It's not your fault, actually. Yeah, thank you. Because I'm thinking also about this thing, but in Ukraine, actually, we have this digitization, like I don't know, phenomena. Everyone digitized everything right now, but it's like the gigabytes and terabytes of memory. But yeah, but I can't actually normally use these documents in my project, for example, is just only to do the hyperlinks, but not the proper connections. So yeah, so I just thinking if this
But
is
in our case, we can publish. This was something that happened 1 year ago. So there was this law that came out that we are actually able to publish documents about people that are not here anymore. So the data privacy concerns, the GDPR, is only for living people, sadly. So it means that they're not covered by any data privacy or especially the thing related to the Second World War in Luxembourg. By law, they were supposed to be as open as possible. So we had some trouble in accessing them. But then at one point there was with this in the legislation, this came out clearly. So for this, the data privacy only applies to living people. So this probably could be in your case as well.
I
But I don't know.
yeah, the Ukrainian archival system's different actually. Yeah, it's another conversation actually. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel. I have another set of questions, like two of them, which would be not about technical solution, but more about digital memorials as memorials and ethical issues related to that. You said at the beginning that you also have this what you're doing, that you're checking not remarks but comments that people did. So there is an option to put the pedal, right?
Yeah.
And then you could write something, and you told us that you are checking this comments like for some time. So were there like situations where some like offensive, inappropriate sentences, text was written there? That's the first question. And then the second question would be dealing with families of the person that you're mentioning, and that you have like biographies of them. So in cases where you have the sentence of like of families who perished in Holocaust, so like how much they have this connection to the memorial, because when you're talking about physical memorials, people are like coming there, like are they also like, if you're able to trace this information, how often people coming to the digital memorial, how much time they're spending, if like some people brought you something also about this?
Yeah, that's I can share actually. Working with the biography of families, so the authors normally know a bit. Luxembourg is a very small country, so they know who are they talking about, so they can reach them out actually and ask for not of permission, because we are permitted to publish. It's not that. It's really to have their approval. So do they want to be mentioned? Do they want to a memorial to mention the place where they're living that have been actually is not there anymore, etc. So there are a lot of ethical issues involved into that. But so far we didn't have any problems. They were even eager to share their current address, and I was completely against, because it's this is data privacy. I mean, the people are living there. It was for me weird, because then this is, for instance, there is in my street where I live right now, next door, there was this one of the family that we write about in the Memorial. They were living there and they were deported. So then the house was depossessed and just sold to auction. But then having the same address here now, there are actually people living there that are not the legal owner. So it creates a lot of also reflection. And yeah, but why not? We need to have this kind of also exchange with the authors, with the descendants of the family. Most of the times they send us also personal photos. I say, I read about that you have the biography of my grandmother. Actually, I have pictures of a wedding that we had. And then it's nice because they send us the images, so they're willing to share, even with. It's strange. It's a sort of mutual trust, I guess, and it's pretty magical nowadays. But it worked out well. We had only one comment for the pebble that was that I deleted as soon as I saw arriving. I didn't even pass it through the people, the reviewer. What we do actually is that we erase the message and the sender. We erase it, but we keep the track, the trace that the pebble has been put, because it's also, I don't know, it's important. So the pebble that this person put with this horrible message stayed. So it's a sort of punishment, yeah. It stayed because actually it is related to a story. It is related to a biographies that anyway has been accessed by this person, even in a weirder manner. He put bad messages, then the messages just do not appear. It's simply gone. That's the magic of the digital. Then yeah, ethically, like changing that, but this is a normal content moderation. And then for the other contents, especially written in German, which is a language that I do not speak, then I left them to them. But normally, if someone read biographies and leave a pebble, it's fine. They really say they really want to share the reading. So we just had one problem. Then we don't collect how many people visiting the pebble, and we count mostly the people that come to the meeting we have, the workshop, and also the conference that we do. So the fact that we are in contact with both the ministry and the foundation, the Luxembourg Foundation, makes things a lot easier. And then we can organize also small conferences related, for instance, to this castle that I was talking about for these biographies in the Brunner. So it's in the north of Luxembourg. It's a castle where people were just put there before being deported. There was no guards, nothing, because like in 20 kilometers radius, there was nothing. So there was just the castle with the people living there and having just one train connection. And there we had a nice, actually a nice conference there. And this helps a lot. So we evaluate our project not based on visitors, because it doesn't make sense for us. Especially in Europe, we have the GDPR, so we just track basically visits. In a generic sense, we're not allowed to keep information about IP address, where people connect. So we don't track. We don't track anymore, but we do take notes of people who write to us asking for some information to be corrected. because we had 10 emails about that, like dates that were not correct or dates that were imprecise. Say, I know it's not correct. These people came in Luxembourg before, actually. So, and this is, I think, the success of this kind of project, of digital project, shouldn't be related to numbers only. Especially here, Luxembourg is a relatively small numbers anyway. But on the impact you actually have on the living society. So going out of the academic and reach out to the people, and then you have this workshop. It's 40 people. It's fine. You have an impact, and then you see that they are writing to you. They are submitting their stories. They have their own writing, their own style. It's positive. I don't know if I answered actually the ethical part of your questions.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. I think it's very important. That's super cool that you have both this digital dimension, but you're also meeting with online, offline during workshop and conferences. And you mean conferences that they are more like on technological parts, or like
No.
also.
The conferences are also on the contents, basically. So every year
Okay.
for la Journée de la Mémoire, for the Memory Day, the Memory Day, end of January, we do a conference. So it's like we have to do that basically, and then we do we do the workshop. So this is how we keep we keep this community also alive, because it's very important. That's why the digital memorial, I prefer the memorial as a way of sharing practices, sharing information between breathing people. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, thank you so much for presentation and providing so many answers and covering all the parts, like technical parts, but also telling us more about this, not only cooperation, but I would say very, very lively, exchange between the team and the people, like between your audience who later become your authors as well. And this is the last moment if some of the colleagues want to raise their questions. If not, maybe they will have questions. We'll have questions later, so then we could message you and
Yeah.
connect, mhm. If not, I would say that we'll slowly going to wrap up this session and meeting today, and then we have our next event in this series that will take place on 25th of March, right, Roxolana? And
Yes,
it
next Wednesday, 21st of March. Yes.
yeah, next Wednesday, and we'll have Brigitte Lenormand from Maastricht University telling us about mobile apps and urban spaces for this time. And right now we are very thankful for you, Daniel, and for everyone who came to the meeting today. I think it was very interesting, discussion.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for having me. So yeah, I'm your disposal. So feel free to share my email, also the email from of my colleagues. It's we here to help. So happy to help. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Ciao,
you.
ciao.
Bye.